So there is a quite disturbing video that went viral, and it's something worth talking about because when you have a show where we have women, it's always important for us to use every opportunity to highlight social issues, especially when it comes to violence. So there's a video of a man, allegedly, we don't know how we can't verify this for many, but based on the source that we got this from, they said his name is Mr. Kelvin Iorfa. According to the story, he's from Makodi, and the video shows him hitting a woman who is supposed to be his sister. According to the story, this man is the deacon of the church, and he was beating his, he said, was telling him to stop beating his wife. Luckily, the wife was escaped. So according to the story anyway, we're saying that according to this story, he was beating up his sister. And the video is quite disturbing. I mean, I was hoping our producer could show up some parts of it, but it might not be allowed on TV. But we saw this man, you know, using a belt on a woman, on a grown woman. And after he used the belt on her several times, shouting at her, and she was there obviously defenseless, he hit her with a bag. She fell down, looked like she collapsed, and still he threw her things away and then kicked her around. At that moment, it was clear she was possibly maybe semi-conscious at the time. But the story is even beyond that because, as I said, we can't verify. We don't know the source of this. We don't know if it's a stunt. We never know these things. But the issue of violence to resolve issues, domestic issue, is pretty prevalent in our society. And it's a conversation we need to keep having, not just with spouses, which is what we usually talk about, but siblings, family, friends, people thinking that, oh, I can hit my sister, I can hit my brother, I can hit my maid, I can slap my driver, I can. We resort to violence. You know, other parts of the world, you can't just hit somebody else because somebody can accuse you of assault, they can take you to court, they can get the police to arrest you. Here, you hit your sister and, hey, it's my sister, I have the right to hit my sister. So we need to keep having this conversation. So remind people of the pains of these kinds of expressions. That's our conversation today. And how do we curb violence, domestic violence, not just with spouses, but in homes, in offices? We've seen bosses slap their staff because I'm paying your salary, or I was not paid your home house rent the other day. I'm there helping you, and then I feel that I have more than you, and I can just take advantage. That's our conversation. You can call us on 081-270-53687, 091390766948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect, please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read the tweets. Violence, I mean, I know we always talk about it, against it, but sometimes these things happen so quickly that this man now said that he was possessed. He said it. I think it was that, was it the demon or something? It said something.
So it was jazzed, something like that.
Jazzed. I was under
a spell. Yeah.
Under his spell. That was his exact words. Yeah. He was under his spell. Yeah. I did not know. He couldn't even see him. He couldn't believe that he was not doing all those things.
My darling, after they don't catch you, you will no longer believe that it was you that was doing the things you were doing. See, let me start from, because I know the ladies would maybe break it down and start from the roots. But let me look at this aspect of collective responsibility. Now, this particular man in question is, according to the story, notorious for beating women. Notorious. That means that everybody around has heard, probably seen, and they know that this is what he does on a regular. And nobody could come out and jack him by the shirt, flog him, take him to police station. Nobody. Everybody minded their business. I'm sorry to have to compare, but we know that there are some crimes where they hear a particular noise coming from an environment and they call the police. We don't know what's going on. These people are disturbing our peace. Please come check what's happening. We have that. It's a way of collectively, helping one another out, so to speak. You don't have to wait till it's your own sister. If you're in a neighborhood where, I remember when I was in the university at some point, there was this particular boy that was always beating his girlfriend. And they were living lovers, though. They sent them to school. Babe carried bag inside man's room, lived there. She was living there, going for lectures, coming back, cooking for him. And that girl can cook breakfast, lunch, dinner. They did not pay kobo on your head. She became a wife on campus. And this guy, we beat her. When I moved into the compound, it didn't take me a long time to call boys for him. I couldn't stand it. I just called boys to come and beat him up. Why is he beating that lady?
That's the issue.
No, so
even though it was a good reason,
that was my
boys.
level at that time.
I know.
Now I won't call boys. I will call the police. I'm just saying. But the fact that I couldn't stand it happening in my environment is what I'm trying to point out. Forget the boys that I called. I was a young girl.
No, that's fine. I'm saying,
yeah. But we need to be our brother's keeper.
You see, I get that point. I want us to go because I don't want to just speak on the surface because we all do it. Yeah. You know, I also had that situation where I shared with you where you have a home family member doing something and you call your brothers, come beat him up. It's like our reflex. But we need to start teaching ourselves
how to do better.
How to do better. Yeah. Yes, you might be doing the right thing the wrong way. You want to solve a problem. If you're my sister now and somebody's hitting you up and I know I have 5 brothers somewhere, I will call them to come and defend you. But instead of me calling like the neighbor, another client, say, please, there's beating my sister.
We can go to the
So how do we begin to teach ourselves to use the law enforcement and not take laws into our own hands? But let's come to your thoughts on this. Let's start with the video.
So I agree that, violence is not right in any circumstance. But the claims that you have sort of compared us with have a system where you can take such a complaint. You know that they will listen to you and they'll come, even if it does not work out how you want, they will then investigate, they'll come and ask questions. Those claims too, they're allowed to shoot. You just hear that they have shot somebody, somebody's dead, I'm just saying that it's about, and then if you look at us also traditionally, I think we had like a traditional system. We had the head of that community would be in charge. There are people that would enforce the law as well. So it just means that our current system needs to upgrade itself, needs to understand, the police needs to understand that it has to come in situations like this. And I think they do. Remember the story of the lady that held on to a police officer? Although that one turned out badly, but it was a form of altercation she had with someone in the house, and then the police officers came, even though they didn't handle it well. So we just need to teach people how to handle situations like this. When there's a disagreement, first of all, we start with ourselves. When there's a disagreement, we need to know when to stop. Even with words, you say these really mean, provocative words, and you push the person with the words, I don't have power, but this is my mouth, I will finish you. You need people to understand that, even with your words, you can express yourself without getting to that point where you say all the things that you now regret, and you're like, I can't believe I said this to you, and then you want the relationship to go back to the way it was. Then also, for those who feel that they have the power to hit and beat, need to also understand that, there has to be self-control. You need to stop somewhere. And half the reason why a lot of people do these things and do it over and over again is because we don't have a system really that punishes. We don't have a system that will carry you and lock you up and, you'll be ashamed of yourself or make an example of you. Abroad, we see, at least based on the movies we see, if a man beats a woman, they lock him up before they say anything. If parents beat children, they carry you away, and then it makes you think before you go so far, like, I beg, I don't want wahala. So if there are no consequences or repercussions for actions, you just have people just behaving anyhow. So just repercussions should be set, that's all.
So like what you would self-control. I love that. We'll come back to that. Go ahead.
So for me, it's the weird excuse of it was a demon. We hear it. Then the Satan possessed me. The demon made me do it. Hello? Especially because there's history. It's not the first time that a demon possessed you. This is you just being wicked and being evil and blaming the devil for what you did. I'm always of the opinion that we give excuses, especially within Nigerian context. There are many people that the devil self will be shocked that, I was not involved in this one. No. Like, when did this happen? Like we've all said, consequences are strong. If you don't have consequences, people will not stop doing whatever they are doing. Even when we're raising children, the real thing is to put a strong consequence to stop them from abusing the system. And there is we must stop this idea of I will beat sense into you, because that's where it comes from. Maybe we feel somebody has disrespected or somebody is not following the rules. You feel like if I beat you, you will now have sense. I've not seen where beating will give somebody sense. In most cases, beating builds fear and rebellion, but you are not meant to beat a full-grown adult. Even when you want to punish, it is not a full-grown adult. In this person's case, this is a full-grown human being, and you take out a belt and you're lashing out at the person like you are beating. You shouldn't even be beat animals. Mariam will come for you. Animal rights protection. You're not meant to beat animals, talk less of beating a full-grown human being. And the best way to solve this is by us having justice being meted out to people like this. When justice is, when we have one or two examples, like the Yahoo boy, the suspected Yahoo boy that was lynched now, they've already arrested people, and it's in the papers. So we now hear that they are sentenced to life imprisonment. When other people want to do things like this, they would watch it that, what if I get arrested like the thing that happened in Akure? Yeah. These are the things we need to see before we
right, so let me just add, that also, the story I took about the mob that beat
I was going to come to
that.
that.
Yes,
It's
all the same mindset.
So this mindset, because now I have a story, I mean, I have a confirmation from a report that the state spokesperson of the State Police Command, Catherine Anene, also confirmed this story, and that the man had been arrested. According to her, he was arrested on April 11th, said the suspect is yet to be interrogated. So she can't confirm the fact that he said that he was under spiritual attack, because according to the report, upon arrest, Mr. Kelvin claimed he was under spiritual attack, which made him unable to know what he was doing. He further claimed he was surprised to see himself beating his younger sister. And it was an activist, a Benue State activist, Ukan Kurugh, that brought this, facilitated this. We're going to go on a break, because maybe we need to include demons in our laws, because we need to start arresting some demons. So this story is quite, now, I mean, I'm told that we're going to be having the SP Anene, Catherine, very soon from Benue to join us to help us understand what's going on. But it's quite painful to know that this is a deacon, somebody who should know better. Let me come to you.
Yeah, so I like the question you asked before we went on the break, how we are going to find a way to probably arrest the devil now.
Yes.
Or demons, and Miriam said get them to take a stand, you know, witness box, and explain their own side of the story. But if we cannot get the demon to appear physically, you are the representative of the demon. You carried out the beating as a representative. The demon used you and you did the act, right? The demon will use you to collect the consequences.
Full stop.
While we are waiting for maybe in the next 20 years where the demon can now appear and defend themselves, you are the representative who has, you know, done the act. You must do the time while we wait, right? And, you know, we talked about consequences very strongly. One of the things that we need to learn to teach, even as we are raising young people, is how they can use their words and how they can express their feelings. So no matter how sad you are, you must be able to use your words, express your feelings, and do it with civility. That is where the lesson should be. So no matter how upset you are, you look at the person, and if you cannot have that conversation at the time, suspend it till when you are ready to have that. That we must teach our children, and it must start from there. We must enforce it, because no matter how high or how upset you are, if you do anything that leads or, you know, spirals into a crime, you will do your time. Nobody cares that you were walking in passion or anger or you know, unresolved emotions. Nobody's going to hear that. You will face the consequences of what you have done. So if we begin to instill it, maybe it will deter people to understand that we can actually have a conversation. Wait, oh, please, before you interrogate, I want to add another thing. Now, those people who have been caught beating people or beating their wives, their women, and all of that, we should have a system where we throw them into a ring to go and face boxers and use that their strength. It should be part of it.
Okay, my suggestion. That's another point. I didn't want to go that. Okay, there's a point on it, because they tell you that anger is a spirit. Those of us,
they tell us in church.
Those of us in the, I was going to say, those of us in the Christianese kingdom, they tell us that anger is a spirit. Just like this, because I did what I saw in that video. After hitting her, you used your leg to push her while she was on the floor. That cannot be sane. Now, in the saner crimes, that kind of person might go for evaluation, psychological evaluation.
From jail.
There's got to be some
from
wrong
jail
with you.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that we must begin to remind, not just to say people are guilty of violence, but there's got a psychological part of it that we must also address that may be demonic.
No problem.
Let us
No
be
problem.
truthful.
I agree with
It
you.
can be demonic. Let's not trivialize the point
So
of
stealing is
demons.
also
Okay,
a
so-
spirit.
It's a spirit.
I agree with you. So this is a crime, physical crime, mental crime, and a spiritual crime. No problem. So we take you, you face the court. Physically, whatever you need to do, they lock you up in jail or you're doing some community service, we do that. On the other hand, you definitely will be seeing a psychologist or a therapist. Then you'll be attending church where they'll be doing
deliverance.
exorcism or deliverance service. You will do all those things, but you must do the time. If someone has been possessed, that person does not want to keep living under the influence of a demon. That person wants to be set free. So that person will go will look for a designated national or state person, that, or deliverer or pastor or whatever, priest that will do that. And you must do the time. Even when you're seeing a psychologist, there's a whole roster of how many days or how many months you're meant to be there. So you go through that, and then they'll reevaluate to see if it has worked. So no problem, we'll do that, but you will face the time. Right. But for me, apart from maybe really grievous physical harm done to to the victim, if that's not the case, if it's something that the person was able to get up from, I think just locking people up is too easy, especially for Nigerians. In fact, it helps them to hide away their shame. This community service I keep talking about, we need to use this thing very well. That street that he's on, he will sweep the street from the beginning to the end. He will wear a yellow neon jumpsuit. He will clear the gutter, he will sweep. He will go to the church. He will do work there. Everybody will
clean the
him.
toilet.
Then on Sunday, because it's a spiritual whatever, when they are doing testimony time, he will come and tell them how far he has gone. So, so far. Since the day I beat my sister, I beat my wife, this is what has happened to me, and this is what I've done so far. To send a message.
Absolutely.
Nigerians don't like that. That jail time is easy.
Yes.
He needs to make
more
a
effective.
constant everyday
And
example.
just sending them to jail term. You have to make a public shame of them.
Yes.
Very good. Let's take Dr. Moyo from Ibadan. Good morning, Dr. Moyo. Are you there?
Hello, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, one of the reasons why violence has become acceptable or rife in Nigeria today is because of the failure of the police. The Nigerians don't trust the police. They know if you arrest somebody for violence, by evening time, the person is out. And they know that there's one thing Nigerians have with money. Everybody has a price. So because of this kind of things, we tend to justify violence, even though we all know it is wrong. If the police did not say no, people will be arresting people for violent acts.
Absolutely.
But we already know where the police stands when it comes to money. So this is one of the reasons why,
This happened. Thank you very much, Dr. Moyo. Very correct. I remember a very similar story too. A man who was the don in his community. He knew the police were his
boys.
So when he beat up his wife, there was nowhere for her to run. She would go to the police and they would always bring it back to him, and he would now beat her for even going to the police. So she only had family. Family too, he was one feeding them. So
that can happen everywhere.
So economic
empowerment is really important.
Empowerment is,
Justice is very important. That's what she's saying, because the police is about justice. If there's justice, people will run to justice. But can we talk about the fact that we are a nation of angry and frustrated people.
Hallelujah.
You know, majority of Nigerians are angry. Any little thing, we're easily triggered. Then we're a bunch of frustrated people. We see a successful person, you're a Yahoo boy. Oh yeah, let us lynch him. He's a Yahoo boy, he must have done something wrong. Or somebody just stole a phone, and then instead of taking him to the police station, you'll be like, we must teach this person a lesson, throw tire, and they burn the person up. So a lot of people are angry, and they are looking for ways to vent the anger. Anger is not a spirit. Anger is an emotion. Hey. Same way you're
not a Christian.
Anger is an emotion. Anger is an emotion, just like your fear is an emotion, just like the fact that that depression is an emotion. So it's an emotion. And we must learn to teach people how to deal with emotions. I am extremely angry with you right now. I take a break. I take a break to deal with that anger, come back and be able to talk to you rationally, because if I don't, the anger might take over my ability to reason. And we cannot, the police have their hands tied, and we must get more innovative with our justice system, because like what Mariam said, we can't put them in prison. I was attacked on the express one day, and the DP in traffic, and the DPO came to me at my house and he said, see, we arrest these boys all the time, but we don't have where to keep them. So after arresting them for a while, we will talk to them and release them back, because really, you can't keep a boy, how long will you hold a boy down that broke a window? Where will you put him? Yeah. So they just put them back in society, and after like a week, the boys go back and start doing the same thing again. So the police must realize that the system currently is not working. We are making criminals become more hardened. Yeah. So we must find a different way to ensure.
That's why the community service,
we must shame, we must do psychic evaluation, we must have more, all police officers should have, every policeman should have therapists that were able to psychoanalyze someone. Then there are things that we do. NLP can whiz-waz your brain and take away, recalibrate you, and we must expose ourselves to taking the advantage of those solutions. But
I love what you said, because it's important for us to, because one of the reasons why I like this show is that we all continue to talk from different perspectives, and I love that you reminded us that anger is an emotion.
Of course.
Because when we call it anger, we say anger is a demon, is a spirit. That somewhat demystifies what it is. It makes you Christianize it such that you just think, oh, since it's the devil, it's the devil that will have, because it's a demon, it's a spirit, that God, the Holy Spirit, help us remove it. No. Holy Spirit's job is to guide you, but it's an emotion you must master and tame and choose civility.
There's also an excuse. Yeah. When we say that this anger is a spirit, there's a spirit of anger over Nigeria, then we think that the next line of action is to pray for the spirit of anger to go. No, it is to improve our justice system, because we are excusing the spiritual matter so that we will be able to say, it's God that will do it. It's not God, it is you that will manage your anger. It is you that will get the consequences. So stop.
I think I love SP Anene Catherine. Good morning. She's the PPRO officer, Benue Police Command. Join us on the phone now. Good morning, madam. Are you there?
Good morning, ma. I can hear you.
Good to have you on the show. We just need an update on this man, I think Deacon or Pastor Kelvin, who is in your custody. Tell us exactly what happened in your view.
Okay, thank you for connecting Benue State Police Command. Yesterday, early hours of the morning, we saw this video. It went viral, and we saw it at about the same time a report came in from a concerned citizen. And a video had come out of the neighborhood where a man was seen beating his sister, and that the police should come up early before concerned citizens or angry persons would take laws into their hands. So some policemen were sent in, and we met some persons who went there to make sure that he did not escape from the house. So he was eventually arrested and brought to the station. What he explained to us is that he had an argument with the sister over a family matter that is private to them, and the sister was insulted in talking to him. His younger sister was insulted in talking to him, so he got angry and asked her to leave the house. She refused to leave the house.
He chose to beat her up.
Decided to beat her up in that manner. The question was, were you under any influence to have done that? He said no. He was not under any influence. He was just angry. So he's in custody, and the sister, the victim, has not been seen up till now. We have contacted the family to tell us where this woman is, but we have not seen her. So we are trying to get her location and her condition at the moment.
So what is the next line of action for this man who reacted in anger in beating up the sister? Is there any crime this falls under?
Yes, he is definitely an offender. He has committed an offense. He will be charged according to the laws.
What is it?
But investigation is ongoing at the moment. He's in custody. He will definitely be arraigned. But we want to get to the sister, the victim, to know her condition will also add up to what his charges will be. So we really want to know where the sister is and how she's faring at the moment. That's the investigation we're doing.
Okay, ma, what if the sister chooses not to pursue the case? What can the police do?
There are cases that are beyond what relatives can do.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
Somebody must
between
press
the
charges.
state or the commissioner of police and the person involved. So it's not all about the victim.
The state.
Okay, sir. Okay, ma'am. We've seen a video. You also have seen the video. It's obvious that this man was beating up his sister. Based on that video evidence, because we've seen, we've spoken to, I think it was Enugu State, the spokesperson, the PPRO for Enugu State, and she was like, oh, this is an open and short case because there's video evidence. But from your conversation, it's still looking like this is not a conclusive case because there's still need for investigation. But there's a video showing assault, aggravated assault. Automatically, we know that somebody is guilty of aggravated assault, and there's video claim of that. Isn't that an open and short case already?
Yes. From experience, we try not to conclude based on
videos.
few evidences that we have to prove a case. So that we don't go to court and technicalities come to play.
Yeah.
And then we lose our cases.
Yeah.
So we try to tie up all knots before going to court.
Okay.
So just picking him off and arraigning him in court might not make meaning before the court.
Okay.
So we want to be sure that when we go to court, we have tied all knots that will not appear stupid before the court.
Okay.
That's the reason why we have assigned to look deep into the matter.
Okay. So
If we find her, she will be an addition to the evidences we have. She will have something to say that we don't know at the moment.
okay.
So it's very important for us to find her and know her condition before we take further action. But if we don't find her within the available time, we will arraign while we still look for her.
Okay.
Okay. Because, I mean, looking for her will also determine how badly she's injured. If she's in hospital, God forbid, if a death has happened, then it will change the charge. I think I understand why it's also important to find her. But I would like to also, he's been accused, allegedly, that this is not the first time. So I was wondering if he's familiar to the police. And if he's not, could you tell us if you think Nigerians are uncomfortable coming forward to the police with issues like this? They just term them family matters. Or, as we've heard sometimes, that sometimes when Nigerians go to the police and report a case like this, it's like family matter, go and sort yourself out.
This is an evidence that that's not true. We have handled such matters. Just last week, we handled an issue of a woman who assaulted her house help, or a young child living with her, and they are already remanded. The case is ongoing. Okay. So the police is handling this in the best way we can. And we're working with the people. Particularly in Benue State, they can testify to efforts of the police to handle domestic violence. But you know, when issues happen within the family, people may not know. If there was no video in this case, we wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now, we need people to testify that he has been doing this. And then we will now understand what his problem actually is.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It was important for us to speak to you, just to be sure. You have one more question?
I have one more question, just one more question, just hypothetically, let's talk here. So we have someone who is saying that he was under the influence of a spell, the devil got involved. And we're here talking about it. How would the police address someone who says, I was not aware of what I was doing because a spell has been cast on me?
The truth is that the devil attacks everybody. It depends on how you open your mind to be receptive to the devil. And there's no provision for such excuses before the law. We can't prove that the devil influenced him.
My darling.
So we have to face this case.
Yeah. On behalf of the
Let
devil.
me quickly throw in just one more question. Sorry. We know that in many internal family domestic violence situations, they come up with, let's settle it in-house. What if the family come to meet the police now and say, please release our brother to us. We want to settle this thing in our family. We have our traditional ways of dealing with when our brother, this spirit takes over. What can be done then?
We have had such confrontations already, but this has to do with life beyond what the family can handle.
The state must
A
step in.
crime has been committed.
Yes.
It cannot be left in the hands of the family, even though we will still consider the family, the love in the family. We will talk to them. They will have to understand why we need to handle it the way we are handling it. But we can't leave it. He can go beyond, do that to other family members, and it will end up in death or something else. So we need to understand. It's not all about taking him to court and jailing. Let's understand. In-depth investigation. Is he normal? Is there anything he's taking? You know, a lot will come to play for us to understand what is happening in the family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've been talking to the PPRO of Benue State Police Command. That's SP Anene. Thank you so much. We're still talking about this matter because we don't want to leave it so quickly. The reason why is because the root cause of some of these issues started from when maybe when people are younger, because we have stories of older brothers beating younger sisters, or the sisters beating younger brothers, you know, sibling violence, and it's almost normal in our society where he beats your younger brother, reset his brain, or is my older brother, whatever he says is his Lord. So now, it comes back to the conversation. Where do we draw the line between acceptable culture and modernity? You know, this is how you talk to your brother, this is how you talk to your sister. But back in the day, you respect your elder brother, you reverence them, they revere them, they are your role models. If they beat you, it's because they need to correct you. And then it goes on to you're an adult, so a married woman or a married man, and yet they're still slapping you and still beating you because they feel they have the authority over you. Lots of families are going through that. We know somebody used to do our makeup. She was still, I mean, I don't know if she was, not her, somebody else, whose brother was still beating her as an adult.
Jesus.
So this looks like, because it was captured in camera, now we can now take it to court. Yeah. But a lot of people are experiencing this every single day.
From homes.
How do we deconstruct and then reconstruct these relationships in a healthier setting?
So I think every parent must take ownership of their home, must take authority in their home, must institute in their home that they are the ones responsible for punishment or reward. No sibling would help me reward another sibling. I give birth to all of you. If a crime has been committed, something wrong has, been done in the house, it is my prerogative as a parent to choose to punish or reward anything in the home. So when siblings, of course, they would have arguments where they're constantly arguing, and before you know it, one person will hit another person and all that. It's something parents must not take lightly from an early age, because as they're growing up, especially if you have them, you know the way we had our children, now we batch them up together, 2 years, 3 years, and all that. They're at that level where they are learning how to communicate with one another. They are learning social skills. It starts from the home, and then they move it to the school. While they are interacting and getting offended and getting upset, you must institute ground rules that will see them through as they become adults, because that is their formative years where they are still, their brain is still developing. And whatever rituals or activities that they do regularly is what will follow them into adulthood. A lot of people are suffering today in different aspects of life because of the childhood trauma that they grew up with, and it meets you. 30 years, 40 years, I'm doing seminars now where we're healing childhood trauma, So you must have that as a parent. You must be an active parent. Gone are the days where our parents trained us with, it doesn't matter, I come, anytime you see me, you see me. There's no emotional connection. I pay your bills and you're good. It didn't work for us, because in as much as we say we are good people, we're still very angry people, and that's what we're seeing. But we don't want that for our children. So they must have rules. you are offended, you must articulate your point. If you cannot say it, there are some kids that when they're upset, they're stammering, they can't say it. Can you write it down? We must have a time where we sit down and table the matter. Nobody must punish another person for me. When I come, I will choose the appropriate punishment to met out. That way, you're not having kids who would be beating up their siblings because they have done something. Because sometimes you won't blame these children when they're growing up. When there's no active participation of the parents, you see some of the elder ones begin to take the parental responsibility to raise their younger ones.
Yep.
And that's where this comes from. But if you are active and you say, now my job, not do them for me, I think that will begin to change things.
So where do we bring in, where they say, boys with boys, you know, or maybe your older brother is beating and you just like, they'll sort themselves out, you know, so you allow them to just be boys. You know, you have boys now.
Yeah.
And you're thinking that if they go have a class, they grow older, they have a quarrel, and you allow them to knock it off, you know, they'll fight and punch each other. Then after a while, they'll be all right.
So they currently, my house is a fighting zone. You know, there's a lot of punching, fighting. He punched me, I punched him back, you know, that kind of thing. So they are always fighting themselves right now. And I allow it because everybody is still, they are within the age range where they are not doing, there's not much damage. We converse, they make up by themselves internally. But I have seen cases where I know that as they become teenagers, their strength would change. So the little baby, my baby is 7 years old. He's the one that instigates the crisis before. He used to smack his older brothers a lot from when he was 5 and 6. They didn't used to beat him back because they looked at him as their kid brother. But now they beat him back. So he's understanding, I can't just be smacking my older brothers. I might get beaten and it's more painful. We explain it, it goes on. But I've already prepared myself mentally that by the time the older ones become teenagers, it will become a rule that you are not allowed to beat your younger brother or fight among yourself. You must discuss. But I had cousins that it was a fighting house too. And my uncle had to create a rule in the house that stop, you know, by Yorubas, auntie, you know, you must call brother Kineko and sister Kineko. So everybody must, you don't call your siblings by their name. You put a prefix of respect. Uncle had to remove the prefix of respect and said, everybody call yourselves by your names in this house so that the older ones don't feel like I am older than you by 10 years. I have the right to discipline you anyhow I want to. All of you are my children. All of you are equal in my eyes and equal to each other's eyes. When you grow up, you can start forming the prefix and bringing it back. That was their own system of reducing that I'm old, I'm going to beat you. And it helped in that moment. So for each family, depending on, this is a family of 11, 12 people. So it was a huge of commotion. They needed to do something drastic. So for every family, you must find a system that works, where I report, how to report, how to handle issues, what are the consequences. It must be taught beforehand, not when you now start having aggravated assaults in the house.
Good morning, Hassan. Are you there? You're live. Hassan, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Slow.
Please, I've been listening to you since yesterday about this issue of our doctors and this new one now. All that I can say about you is that on your own part, all of you there, is lamentation. I don't see solutions. I don't see solutions. Look.
Did we just lose the call?
Oh,
I think we lost that.
yeah.
All right, so what, you're
So, yes, I want to go, yes, because I have a boy and a girl. So I feel that with boys, maybe you can say, get it out. But I have an older boy and then I have a girl, and I'm teaching him, you don't hit your sister, you don't. But there's this story we always laugh about, and I know they're not watching. There was my daughter, her mouth is sharp. So even if she's the one that does something wrong and you call them before you to explain themselves, my daughter will explain herself so beautifully. And you can see her, you would believe everything she said. And I would see my son just getting angry and angry. He would try to explain himself, but like me, he's stammering through what he's saying, trying to struggle to get the words out. And, you know, she would just explain it, and she would give you from the beginning, the middle, the end, locked down.
Structure it.
So he now found a way. Anytime she talks, when she reaches halfway, he just go, liar! Liar!
once he says that thing, he just scatters out anger. Yes, and then it will give him time to now explain himself. But there's this thing we laugh at, like when he was much younger, and she would talk to him anyhow because she has the words. He grabbed her and spanked her many times. I'm your big brother. You talk me. You know, my husband did like that. He's like, no, we need to teach him not to hit his sister. My mom was like, yes, he's a man. We should not be talking to him like he's also her older brother. So we have that old school culture. And she's saying she has to respect her big brother. There has to be, I mean, they did not give birth to them on the same day. And also he needs to understand that he is authority in the house, that whether she likes it or not, that's her big brother. So this is what I try to do. There's no hitting, but she knows that that's her big brother. Yes, she's not going to call him uncle or what, but she knows. But she's taught every time that's her big brother, so she must respect him. And bros, you must earn it. If you misbehave and she disrespects you, you cost it. So that's the conversation we try to have in our house. I'm not going to say that the children never hit each other. They do. Sometimes their emotion gets the best of them. But then they also know that if I hear, so what happens is, like in this case, they try to sort it out before I hear.
It gets to you. Both of you will be beaten.
Interestingly, it's interesting we all have different perspectives, because I was talking to one of my mentors and we're just talking on a different issue. But she was reminding me that back in the day, how to instill respect in communities back then in the Yoruba families was having those prefixes or having the sister, because what it does, it teaches you humility. Even in life, that you need that. Even when you enter marriage, you don't just enter your husband's house and start calling everybody, you know, there's the way you respect, something. There are always that have been somewhere, that the systems have been put in place to keep that balance in the system where we don't hurt each other. So even though some people might remove it because of modernization, others may leave it just to remind ourselves that we have to respect each other. But either way, it doesn't stop the issue of violence. Because I want us to go back to, why do we allow boys to be violent? We just say, oh, they are boys, let them be violent. And is it wrong? Can there be a middle ground where you allow them to be boys? But what does allowing them to be boys mean?
In the first
place?
So I would say, because of the physiology of boys, the way God made them, right? They are a bit different from girls. Girls are made from refined products. They are softer in nature. And that's why, as a young girl, when she wants to pick her toys, she will pick things that are feminine. She'll pick the dolls, she'll pick the cooking. No, even if you don't tell her anything, that's just what she's attracted to. While the boys will pick football, they will pick guns in a toy shop and all that, pick their bicycles and all that. That's their innate nature. And we must not suppress it. Because the suppression right now, where we're trying to make all of them the same, is, for me, in my opinion, it's what is feminizing most of our men. And if you look around social media, you see our young men, most of them are feminized. Effeminate or feminized, however. But allow boys to be boys is not about allowing them to be violent, but give them an opportunity to express their energy. What sports do your boys do? When they come back from school and the energy, maybe they didn't allow them play that much. In fact, I fight the schools when my son comes and says, we didn't go on recess. You need recess, young man. You need to move, because you can't just sit down all day learning whatever I don't know what it means or whatever it is. And you're not able to use that energy that God has given to you. He will want to express it when he comes home. And that's why he'll be jumping the table and jumping the chairs and jumping everything.
Let me pause you for a second.
Okay.
Abosede has been holding for a while. I'll come back to you. Abosede, are you there? You're live.
So, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good morning,
Yes.
lady. Hello.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
All right. Sorry, I just want to contribute to the topic.
Yes.
I want to contribute to the topic. I want to say to you that I want to agree with what
Volume
you
is so low.
said earlier.
Yeah.
There must be ground
Volume.
rules. There must be ground rules at home.
Yes.
That even from age, I'm an educationist, and I read a book while I was trying to start the school that children form their character between the ages of 2 and 8. And that when they are 8 years old, it will take God for you to change them. So there must be a ground rule, even from younger age.
Yeah.
So I will say to you that don't leave the boys. Let them understand that they cannot fight themselves. From now, even in school, I run a school, I teach them that you don't, no matter what. I agree with you when you're saying that, anger than emotion. You were quite right. So we must caution them, even from babies. because they will develop, they will form an attitude, and they will see that it will be difficult. By the time you are saying they are teenagers, you want to change them, it might be difficult. I pray it will not be difficult. But you know, you need to start from now to tell them that you on no condition must you treat your siblings.
Right.
Because even in a good school, they are taught ground rules. These are the ground rules of the classroom. You don't do this, you don't do that, you don't fight your friends, you don't say naughty words, you don't do this. So if they are taught in school not to do that, then at home, it should continue so that we can have a balance and a total.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just
come back to you.
just tidy up my point. So, because of the innate nature where they have a lot of energy growing up, you must find ways for them to express that energy. Let them do sports, let them carry out physical activities, play football, just engage themselves. By the time they are home, they have less energy to engage in fights because they have used that energy for something positive. And it becomes a routine for them. And also teach them that when they are upset, because of course people will offend each other, siblings will always do that. When they are upset, they must take deep breaths. You can count it for them. Before you speak, take up to 10. That is the new law now in the house. Take up to 10, in, out, in, out. Are you ready to speak now? And you see that it works for everybody. Even adults use it in the office, you know. So we must begin to equip ourselves in this way so that we can help these people overcome violence.
My husband always tells me a story. I'll come to you, Mariam. My husband always tells me a story where, when I was a little kid, I think, I'm not sure it was primary school or something, where a younger boy, 3-year-old boy, I think, or a primary 3 boy, beat him up so badly. And he came home crying. And his dad said, let's go back to school and find out the boy that beat you. He said when his father saw the boy that beat him, wait, is this one that beat you? Took him back home. And beat him. And told him that when they beat you, you beat them back. And you act like a small boy. Said that singular scenario was what launched. He just, like, he brought out a lion in him. Like, he was just beating. Till he entered university, he was just beating. Like, everything was a bitter. It took him years to recalibrate himself. I can't be doing this now. I can't be beating people like this. So he had to reteach and relearn on how to engage people without being violent. So sometimes parents, we tell our boys, why are you crying? It's not a little girl that beat you. What's wrong with you? You have to defend yourself. So my question again is, how do we, is there a thin line between defending yourself and knowing how to handle issues properly?
Please, let me address just that, the phone call, because I think that there needs to be a balance. You can't say that there's not going to be any fisticuffs within boys inside the house. That's impossible.
It's very impossible.
And in ordinary play, when my kids are playing, it is jumping. And the truth is, jumping is normal. People grew up jumping from trees, jumping. They would injure some things, but they're meant to be able to have physical play. But we are raising a group of sissies that everybody is cop. We must find a balance. So I will protect you. I would create boundaries, but you are allowed to play. You're allowed to push each other. I'm rushing to get downstairs. First to get downstairs to get the biscuits. Everybody is rushing. That's normal play. So I encourage that play amongst the kids. And but they know they don't do bullying in school. They don't beat anybody in school. So it's not a bullying system. We are playing with each other's system. Yes, jokingly on the show I said it's a war zone, it's a fighting thing, but like it's a playful fight. Yeah. So, and I also don't want us to take these lessons and then we go back home and say, no, you cannot play, you push each other. Children will be children and they should be allowed to be children. My kids now we don't roll tire and do all those things that people used to do before. Yeah. And for me, it helps children to develop holistically.
Pushing my children outside, please go and play outside.
Yes, children need to go outside, they need to walk. We used to walk and buy things. I don't want to protect our children because we feel times are more dangerous now. There's a lot of risk, but there must be balance. Yeah. And being emotional, ability to manage their emotion is sort of the balance because they will get angry. Their siblings will lie against them. My younger one reported their older ones for having a YouTube channel, and they were really pissed with him. They were going to because you know we have a channel, you now reported us to mommy. You know, so I had to let them understand that he's getting rewarded, you're getting punished. It's balance. You need to help each other. So the conversation must be holistic. It's not one-sided.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kelechi, I'll come to you, Mrs. Miriam. Kelechi from Shasha. Good morning, Kelechi. Are you there?
Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
I beg, I want to commend all of you. I want to commend BC for this therapy she gave this morning.
Thank you.
This therapy is super. See, personally, I get high temper. My father was as a child, beating my mother at every single thing, you know. And I remember the last time I beat up my girlfriend. I want to kill her inside her shop. But after that, I began to, you know, work on myself. Back in the university, the lecturer told us that she knew a student. He said, even if you ask the student the simplest question in the world, he said he will not answer immediately. He will take a big breath, after which he will answer you. Even if you ask him, what is your name, he will keep quiet. One day he asked, he said, why do you always do that? He said, it gives him time to think. Sure. And if there is anger, he will suppress it. So, honestly, DC, bravo. And I commend your perspectives. I like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelechi. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was just going to talk about adults. I mean, children, for children who are fortunate enough to have parents that are enlightened and have, you know, learned, they're able to raise children, you know, that will do better. But we have adults who did not have that opportunity and were not fortunate. They were just raised by parents who did the best they could for them with what they knew. And now they find themselves as angry adults, abusive husbands, you know, egotistic bosses. You know, they just can't, they can't get it together. And I think for a lot of them, so when Kelechi's call is almost like, you know, what I was about to say, is as an adult now, when you hear conversations like this, if you can, take time and just reflect. If you think you're that sort of person, do the work. If people around you describe you as that sort of person, you need to do the work on yourself. Understand that violence is not the answer. Take deep breaths, you know, as it has been said today. You used to hear people, they say count to 100 or count down and things like that. And journal, write down your feelings and your thoughts, your emotions. I know it's not easy being an adult in Nigeria, being an adult in Lagos. I always say I want to separate the whole of Nigeria from Lagos. Being an adult in Lagos can be quite tough. I mean, just driving to and from work, the people who have shouted or who have shouted at you. So we understand, but we think we can do the work. The less violent we are with each other at home, the less it will be outside our communities. You know, we'll just do better if we work on it.
You know, as we started the conversation, something came to me that an issue I never dealt with in my own life that happened. I mean, it just flashed that I realized that I never really engaged my brother on this. And I know he's probably not watching. But I remember that because all my brothers had left when I was born, when I was a little girl. So I didn't meet them, I didn't know them. But one came back to Nigeria once in '87. Was it '88? Shegun came back. I was so happy to finally meet one of my brothers I had gone that I never met. And he came, but the lasting impression, he beat me and my cousin, Dotson.
What did you people do?
Maybe examination, maybe we were studying within I put UMP, something, you know, maybe I misspelled umbrella, something silly. And he saw my results and he was angry with me. I would never forget the day he beat up my cousin, Dotson. He told him to sit over the chair, touch the wall, and he got a belt and was beating this boy to. And
you know that was normal then.
Then I'm saying that, but for me to remember the details.
That was trauma.
It was trauma for me. I was traumatized.
Especially that you were a pampered last born.
I was a pampered last born. I was talking to this man that was coming from their abroad.
He was going to be a sweet, loving brother.
For me, it was like this monstrous person, and he was only around for like a week or so.
Wow.
I couldn't wait, and that was there till I met them for the first time when I was 16 years old. So I was traumatized from that moment. And but you see, thinking about that, how it made me feel. As we're talking now, I'm just remembering, flashback. So does it really work? I mean, does it mean, so then we just saw him as an older brother beating us. But it kind of, I think it really strained my relationship with him because even when I finally met him, I was not like, oh yeah, hi, you know. Like,
even subconsciously.
So subconsciously, I wasn't that connected for a long time before I now. So it happens. Like,
I'm of the opinion that most of us, 99.9% of human beings on earth, have been traumatized one way or the other.
Yeah.
Don't even know what
it's just that some people don't even know what that means, right? And you go around living your life with some coping mechanisms you developed to protect yourself.
True.
I had to go through my own healing journey. Yeah. I'm still on that path. And one of the things I learned in that healing journey was to forgive everybody. understand that they did what they could with the resources available to them at that time. And that forgiveness is not for them, basically. The forgiveness is for you, because you need to heal that inner childhood that has been hurt so that you can move on in life. I have conversations a lot with Miriam, and one day she said something that touched me. She said, "Why are you angry?" I couldn't explain why I was angry. I just felt that was the right thing to do now. The statement you made now just got me upset. That was the right thing to do. The next thing is for me to just show anger. And when I went back to reflect, so when I got out my journal, I was writing, that question kept coming to me. Why are you angry? That was when I was already on the path already. So everything that happens all day, I get home, I'm emotionally aware of my emotions. By the time I get home and I journal, and I can say, okay, oh, I was able to trace the anger. The anger wasn't with her or what she had done. The anger was what I perceived was coming. And because I had been brought up to fight and protect, I've been the protector of my space. Anything that resembles anything that has happened before is that child at that age that comes up to fight. So it wasn't actually the adult me that was represented at the time. It was the child me that was hurt. So everything that resembles it, my mind flashes back to it, and that's how most of us have been living. Yes. So we must learn to reflect. We must learn to ask ourselves questions like, who showed up today? Is it that wounded child that responded? Or is it me now that I know better that is responding? And it's a journey all of us must go through.
Absolutely correct. Very, very correct. Let me take Temi Lolua from Mushin. Good morning, Temi. Are you there? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I just want to talk about what Auntie Obiadu said. She said about forgiveness. So I just feel like it sometimes can be hard to forgive. Because at my place of work, my boss told us of a story of a father. Yeah. So my boss told us at my place of work of a story of a father that beat his daughter. I think he tied her up to the fan. He beat her like mercilessly. I think was even arrested. So sometimes what Auntie Vicky just said about forgiveness, it can be so hard when she sees the physical scars on her body. Like, how does she forgive that kind of thing? But then I just love the show, and I'm a first-time girl. I just have to
welcome
everybody.
Thank
and I love you all. You guys are doing amazing job. Thank you very much.
Comments on social media, go ahead.
Okay, so I was going to talk about when this situation, what we're doing, people, and I think we bring healing when we talk about things like this. The topic came from the fact that parenting influences violence, right? That's what we're trying to deal with, and how some of the things we experience as a child influences who we become as adults. You would see this woman, the victim in this particular video, her reaction to a man raising hand will be different. You know, if a man raises hand, it will not be that maybe he wants to wave or hug me. It will be maybe he wants to smack me. And that's trauma. People don't realize why are we talking about trauma? I've heard somebody like, what is in? All of the people are always saying, trauma. No, trauma is that every reaction you are having is not to the reality on ground. So I find myself in a conversation with my sister-in-law, and I just enjoyed the conversation. I just said somebody else, and the person was like, they just insulted you. No, you received insults because of your trauma. I did not receive insults. I received communication. And so that is the real thing. And many marriages suffer because of it. But Mariah, you went to the foundation, and some people are still raising children like that nowadays, and I was tempted to do it because my kids, I have a twin that is always getting beaten or getting bullied. So I was almost going to say, if somebody tells you something, you to say it back. But I pulled myself back. But we're still raising children now to fight where they shouldn't fight. We must learn to raise our children to communicate, to report where necessary, because it is the fighting that we put in our children that has raised a generation of angry Nigerians who are committing lynching and are doing jungle justice mob action.
When they report, they don't do anything. Half the time they report.
So,
like, it's okay. Like, that remember, John just slapped me. Sorry, because we're busy. So they also have to resort to their own solution because half the time they come to report.
Yes, so we have to balance justice, but we must raise that, because what we are seeing, the report card, because some people come here and be like, they raised you well, look at you, you're successful. But what do you do when you are angry? You punch your driver. That means that you are not successful as you are. A full-grown bank, a bank MD will come out, or GM, come out from his car and be fighting Okada man and be dragging That is trauma.
That's
normal. That's your 7-year-old child reacting, your 7-year-old self. So when we think that we grew up and our parents were beating us and we are okay, we are not okay. The result of our not okay is that we are fighting on the streets anyhow. Punching people is part of the problem, and we need to raise a better generation and bring awareness.
I want us to go home with that.
Reminds me of the conversation we had last week,
and
where we're talking about the way our parents or grandparents raised us and how it can be a bit harsh, not a bit, quite harsh. And you know what you said about your brother and the age difference between you. For me, I've been deliberately working on my relationship with my younger siblings. So we found ourselves as adults, and I realized, with one of them, I'm not that close, because by the time I was in secondary school, he was in primary school, and so it's helping me, I had to reevaluate, do I want friends as siblings, or do I just want a younger sibling who would have issues and would not feel comfortable to communicate with me? So I've done a couple of things last year and this year, and I'm happy that we're building on that relationship. So I would say to parents of children, if you have siblings, let them be friends as well. I understand I want to teach respect. We can teach good respect. You earn it, you give it, and also you can be friends. That difference, I know I don't understand how it works with Yoruba people, but I always find that calling auntie or uncle puts that divide. Like, okay, I can't approach you. We cannot be friends. I can only tell you some things I know you can accept. But, I'm not speaking, I'm just saying that from my perspective. I don't know how it works. But I feel that we should allow siblings to be each other's friends, especially in this world where there are just so many things on the outside. You want your siblings, you want your children to band together with their siblings and be safe.
Give you that safe spot.
So, I like what you said earlier concerning, is this me or my 7-year-old self? Or my 10-year-old self that was traumatized. So
showing up.
We should go back to that, and as human beings, because as you said, we are all traumatized. Something you cannot be in this Africa or in this Nigeria,
even abroad,
and not have their own. Abroad have their own issues.
They have their own.
Our own too is different. Everybody has their own unique and peculiar ones. But you cannot be in this Nigeria and also you've not entered trauma. We've all been traumatized. So anytime you're overreacting or in anything, always remember, is this me, the adult, the matured me, or is it my child one that I was traumatized that is acting out? If you remind yourself every moment, maybe to help you to know how to overcome these traumatic
And it's also okay to seek help. There were people who I knew had anger issues. Others would say it's spirit of anger that has come over them, but I don't believe in that. It's an emotion, like Tokwe rightly mentioned, and that emotion stems from a place of fear of losing control. If you check every anger that you have had, the underlying factor is fear of losing control. Why are you angry that she said what she said? Because that was not what you expected her to say. You have lost control in that. And we should accept that it's okay to lose control. It's okay to be vulnerable. We must start from there. And if you feel like this anger, there's a friend of mine that in his office, his colleagues had to write for him, do not shout today. He's a big boss. They pasted it. When I went to the office and I saw it, I'm like, what happened here? And he said, when I get upset, I finish everybody. The younger colleagues had to write it so that it reminds him that he must not lose his temper. At different levels, it may not just be anger, it may be fear, it may be inability to stand up for yourself, it may be lack of boundaries. There are different ways that our trauma shows up. You must understand the one that is working against you today and the one that will work against you in the future and begin to work on it. It's humility, all about humility. Do you want to become a better human being? I want to become a better human being. I want to have friends that I would call today, we're hanging out tomorrow, we have issues, we talk about it, we solve it, we move on. I'm doing something, I'm calling you, Auntie, come and join me. You're doing something, you're helping me out. You are speaking in the boardroom when I'm not there. When I'm sleeping in my room, you are representing me. Those are the kind of things that I want for myself. And I want to be a better person to be able to achieve that.
Let's take a few more social media and then we run off.
Plenty
Emmanuel says, please keep Mr. Devil out of this and let the beast responsible face the appropriate consequences. Mr. Devil is somewhere trying to keep his fiery lake burning as contrived in the books. And he's getting blamed for what he has absolutely no idea about. Let's stop the nonsense.
So all the things that pastors have been teaching us, are you saying that you didn't listen to pastor? If you go to church, you're not listening to what pastor is saying.
There is no devil.
So pastor is preaching that the devil, that you're thinking,
I bet
devil did not do
that
anything.
one.
Pastor, I hope you're hearing. Go ahead.
We are the devil that is disturbing ourselves.
Any other comments?
So Andrew has been tripping for Miriam.
Oh, really?
Choosing to call him out right now.
Wow.
He's tripping for my friend. Miriam is married, by the way.
Andrew is my best friend, though, please.
She's the coolest Nigerian public figure I have ever seen.
Oh my God, Andrew.
Really like her demeanor. Andrew.
Andrew.
Me.
Okay, so since we're complimenting Mariam, let me take this one. William David said, God bless you, sis Mariam. I do like the way you make comments on issues. You just speak my mind. Maybe the government can start jailing men that practice a dirty act.
Yeah, so Andrew also says you must allow boys to bring out the warrior in them. Best way for boys from 7 years up to do this is to take them to martial arts training.
Yeah.
They teach self-control, defense, and responsibility. Very apt. Taekwondo is very good for young boys to help them. And Snam says, even Biden said when he was young and got into a fight, his mother would turn him back and tell him to return the favor. Punch them in the mouth. We don't want that anymore. We don't want that anymore.
Okay, I think we can wrap up on that. But I think the video we saw was quite disturbing, as we said. But it's always easy to condemn a video when you don't go to the root cause. And that's why I try to bring it down further to all the granular details of other areas that could have, other things that may have caused this result we've seen. And what we found is that from parenting, brother, sister to brother, where older siblings are allowed to beat on their younger siblings. I'm saying we have to find a way to fix it. And how do we do that? We also ensure that we create a situation whereby every child know how to express using words to defend themselves and to express themselves, not physical activity. But physical activity is not so bad. You can always let the boys play, let the boys be boys. But in their play, you must understand that you cannot hurt each other, because when you start hitting somebody to hurt the person, it's no longer play, it's become violence. Also, we've also learned today that as adults, we should always go back and think of every action we do. All the various, we've all been traumatized, and that's something we must accept. We've all been traumatized one way or the other. And when we start doing things that are not serving us, let's work our way back. Where did this start from? And then begin to heal from that, because that's the only way we can become better human beings. That's all we can take on today's show. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.